early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, so like you said, my name is Joe McCampbell. I was in the military for 21 years, almost 21 years. I joined at 17, and when I turned 18, they said, okay, put your boots on, let's go. So off to war I was going, all right? Being a veteran to me is about sacrificing your family, sacrificing your time, sacrificing what you want to do in life just for the benefit of others. So while we lay here in bed and we feel safe and secure, there's countries that people can't say that they can go to sleep without being in fear of attack. I mean, how many of us have ever went to sleep and said, okay, I fear that I will be blown up while I was asleep. Well, I fear somebody kicking my door. So as we sleep, the veterans are going overseas, cross land, cross sea, they're fighting wars. So nothing I can say would give the just due to the veterans who have been overseas and to the family members who have to stay here and raise the kids and control the house like they do whenever veterans go away. So when JFK says, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, being a veteran is one of the biggest things that I think that you can do for your country. A lot of times when you're in the military is not a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. When you go into the military, everything that you know will disappear. So I just recently came back to college this year, and I forgot everything about college. I've been out of college for 20 years. So everything that y'all have learned in college, I gotta learn brand new. I gotta erase 20 years of them drilling into my head. Do this, do that, be that, do this. So when y'all see a veteran, a lot of times veterans think that they're alone in the world, especially ones who've been in the military for a long time. They think they're alone. They think that a lot of people don't care in America about what they do, the sacrifices they make. So if you ever see a veteran, just tell them thank you for your service. All right, sit down and have a talk with them. Talk to them, talk to their family. Find out, about their life. They struggle with a lot of things, especially after they see some of the stuff that they see overseas. A lot of times they go to sleep and they cry themselves to sleep. So I would like to thank y'all for y'all time. Again, my name is Joe McCampbell.
I woke up this morning, which, is always a good thing. Got to wake up. I heard the rain, and I said, how fitting. If it ain't raining,
You ain't trained.
You ain't training.
right, only a vet is going to get that one, right? So I was asked to say a few appropriate remarks. I want to share a little bit about myself with you, and let's start with how I got here. So my story to get to VCU is similar to that of many veterans. I landed here by chance. In other ways, it's amazing. I landed here at all. I was a 0.6 GPA, academically dismissed from a college right outside of Washington, D.C. Some of you may be familiar with that kind of story, right? Our military folks. After a series of wake-up calls, I graduated from VCU in 2002 as a mid-career major. My service showed me that perseverance matters, and with a little help you can accomplish anything. And my help came from another VCU alum, another Vietnam vet, the late Dr. Mike Jernigan, who was instrumental in pointing to me and saying, remember the goal, walk across the stage. Right? My dissertation was on retention of the Virginia National Guard. I found that that role important. The role of our significant others is critical. It is why people stay in any organization, especially the military. And especially when your job calls you to be far away. Relationships matter. And as a veteran, I suspect some of your oldest and strongest friendships are related to military service. Right? For me, this is particularly significant because one of my dear friends, another VCU military alum who I dragged here today, willingly dragged here, Byron Marshall, is the reason I have my current wife. He and his wife introduced us. Kind of a big deal in my life. And you know, it goes back to that military relationship. And just so you know, full disclosure, right, at 0.6 GPA, my dissertation is dedicated in part to my parents, who surely thought this day would never come. As you consider your military experience, remember service matters. When all of you raised your right hand, you became part of that less than 10% of Americans who swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You also became one of the few who are willing to write that blank check to the United States government, payable in part or in full. This is a strong bond shared by a few. There are a couple of folks, Steve, and I know your story is very meaningful. Thank you. Thank you for your family. Quasi, who I met this morning, very, very meaningful. Get to know, I learned his story. Anyone who comes to the United States, joins the military, should have no problem becoming a United States citizen. His story is one of those examples. So, you've made a choice, you made that choice, it'll be with you forever. I mentioned the ideas here of health, relationships, and service. I want to close by encouraging all of you who have not to join the Military Alumni Council. We support VCU in partnership with the Military Student Services at events like this and through networking and outreach events. We are a resource for you as you can consider, as you continue to serve others at VCU now and in the future. So thank you, and of course, go Army.
Go Army.
Thank you, Stephen and the team, for inviting me to speak today. Also, I want to thank all the veterans here for being here today and for your service. I want to thank the choir. That was a beautiful rendition of the national anthem, and actually I'm going to refer to it in my remarks, so it's perfect. I want to talk a little bit about service. I want to talk about sort of my background, how I got there, and some of the things I learned through my military service, and did impact me coming to VCU and being what I consider successful at VCU. When I think about Veterans Day, I think about the big picture, right? We all think about the big picture. But for many of us as veterans, our life in service was around a very few number of people. I was in a survey team in Schweinfurt, Germany, actually on orders for Vietnam in 1972. And just by the luck of the draw, my name was called and they said, Burke, get off that truck, get on this truck. One thing you need to know about the military, they don't always tell you what you're doing or where you're going. You just end up someplace you are expected to be, as Joe mentioned a couple of times. So anyway, I ended up on a truck going to Germany versus the truck I was on that went to Vietnam. I grew up here in Richmond. I went to Benedictine High School, which is a Catholic military day school, often referred to as a reform school, but it's really just a day school. Upon graduating in '71, I decided to join the service. I went to Fort Jackson, where what I call my Richmond bubble burst. The things I had taken for granted my whole life, like sleeping, eating, bathrooms, I discovered were no longer important to the Army. They didn't care whether you ate or you slept, you just had duty. Also guarding empty buildings at 2 a.m. in the morning, in 0 degrees and rain, and a thing called Firewatch was a thing. So quite frankly, as Joe mentioned, it's quite a shock to your normal growing up experience to be in the service. Things change, all of it changes. When I got to the 3rd Infantry, the 1st of the 10th Field Artillery in Schweinfurt, the section I was in was made up of 12 individuals, 10 of which were draftees. The draft was still going on at the time. Remember, this is at the end of the Vietnam War, a very unpopular war. And all of these gentlemen, I was 18, they were all almost mid-20s. So they were like big brothers, and they were great. Just to give you an idea of their educational accomplishments, and this is a little uncommon in the military. 3 of the gentlemen had bachelor degrees, 4 had master's degrees, and 1 had a PhD as a Spec 4. So that gives you some idea. We had an outstanding survey team, and the one thing I learned from them was when you do a survey, when you do it well, you're done. If you bust a survey, you got to redo it. So the whole point was we don't bust a survey. We do it right the first time. And that sort of stayed with me my whole career in the military. During the military, I also tried to stay positive as much as I could, not always successfully. As all vets know, military service is physically, emotionally, and mentally demanding. While in Germany, we would abruptly be called out on alert for whatever reason. We'd be gone for weeks at a time, living in tents and fields and not knowing when we were coming back. And that's where, as Joe mentioned, families really suffered because your spouse didn't know where you were, often didn't know when you were coming back, you know, and they were dependent often on you kind of being there. So it's a very tough life on families. Eventually, I made it through. I got my DD-214 out of Fort Dix in New Jersey. I made my way to the airport. Getting to the airport, I booked a flight on Altair Airlines, which is no longer in service. It's a tiny little airline that flew basically to Philadelphia, New York out of Richmond. It held about 8 people at the max, and it was what I took all the time going back and forth to Germany. Upon arriving, the lady at the counter told me the plane was booked and that I would have to wait till that evening. Well, what's new to that, right, in the Army? Hurry up and wait, right? So that was no problem. I said, fine, I'll just sit over here in the corner. Well, I was sitting in the corner, the pilot walked past me, and I was wearing my Class A's, and the pilot looked at me and he said, Sergeant, are you going home? And I said, yes, sir, I just processed out. He said, are you on my flight? I said, I tried to get on, but you're booked. He said, hold on 1 minute. He walked to that counter. He told that lady, get him on the plane. And I'll never forget that. It was the first kindness anybody had shown me in many, many years. And I am sure he never said anything, but I'm sure he was a vet. And vets take care of themselves. And I thought, wow, this is awesome. So I got on the plane, got home. You gotta remember, this was before cell phones or texting. So I got to the payphone, called my parents. They were out, of course. But anyway, they eventually got to the airport and picked me up. And the next thing I know, I was down here at VCU with my brother Mike, who had failed swimming, okay? How do you fail swimming, right? Well, he had failed swimming. And I said, Mike, how did you fail swimming? He said, I didn't go. It was too early in the morning. And I said, oh, well, that explains failing swimming. But his advisor, a man by the name of Dana Payne, said to me while he was trying to get my brother's schedule straight, he said, so what are you doing? And I said, well, I just got out of the service last week and I'd like to go to school. He said, great, you start on Monday. Now this is wait, right, no application, nothing. He said, I'm gonna sign you up as a special student. You're gonna start with 3 classes starting Monday. And when you pass these 3 classes, you'll be automatically enrolled full-time starting the spring semester. So, of course, being a service member, I just said, yes, sir. So I showed up at class the first day. It was psychology 101. It was a classroom of about 5,000 people. And I just loved every minute of it. And I was probably the most serious college student you had ever met. I never missed a class. I never took a day off. I mean, In the service, you don't get a lot of education other than how to do certain things in your military skill. But the gentleman that I had worked with in my survey section had always said, Tom, get out, get your education, go forward. And I took that for granted. And VCU gave me that opportunity. The service gave me the GI Bill to pay for it. And so between my service at VCU, my service in the service, I got a bachelor's and a master's, and I never paid a penny. So other than buying books, that sort of thing. But it's just a gift. So I have to thank VCU for that. It was an awesome experience. Now, when we go back to our military service, and I think all of us can be extremely proud of what we did, but your national anthem today, to you and to many people, they're lyrics. To us, we lived it. When you sing bombs bursting in air, our flag's still there. We saw bombs bursting in air. We saw flags up over bunkers. We saw that, we lived it. So it means something to us a little bit different than the average person. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated hearing it from you today. The lyrics also honor veterans' sacrifice, bravery, perseverance, and unfortunately, devastating loss. We all lost people in the service, and they were our friends, and often closer than family. So these are a lot of emotions that you go through. So I'm going back now to what did my Army experience teach me? First, take nothing for granted. Second, expect the unexpected and be prepared. And finally, above all else, avoid going camping. For all of you student veterans, continue to work hard, stay positive. Education is the key to your personal and professional growth. And again, I want to thank you for being here today, and happy Veterans Day to all of you. Thank you.
Help yourself to a bun and coleslaw. Sir, how about you?
Thank you.
All right.
James, to lead our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. This one? This one? Okay, this one.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. James is one of our past SVA presidents, and what better way? I'm going to introduce Jimmy real quick. Jimmy has got a chance to introduce his staff. This is the leadership of our student vets for the future here at VCU. We've got some great plans. Jimmy's going to be taking over. I would love to recognize Jake. He's not here today. He's going to assume some different roles. He's not graduating yet. He's just passing the baton. And after Jimmy finishes, the food.
Easy lead-in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make it real quick and easy. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody for making this day what it is. Alumni, choir, beautiful voices, I love it. And as well my vets, so thank you for your service. But of course, I want to start off by saying, of course, my name is Jimmy. I am a 4-year Navy vet and a junior here at VCU. I have never been to a school that shows so much love to their veterans, and I love that. Going forward, I'll go ahead and introduce the other 2 members of my cabinet that will be assuming the role whenever I take over. Ryan, Naomi.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'll be doing the vice president role, and I do a little bit of social media work, and I study concentration of public relations and mass communications here at VCU. I'm also a junior.
I'm Naomi. I'm a sophomore. I'm a pre-PA major, and yeah.
So Ryan, yeah, so real quick, I'm sorry. So Ryan will be, like he said beforehand, vice president, and of course Naomi will be our secretary. And all students are welcome to join the club. It just isn't veterans. We want to bring all together. So thank you for your time.
And I think the tornado is over there. passing just to our east. This is the edge of it.